Wednesday morning hump day and the monotony of the channel of eternal range. Look at this. It's the handsome and charismatic Druth. How you doing, Druth?
Doing awesome, pianomattyb, and really thankful to be on your show again. Thanks for having me back. It's been obviously, we're sloughing off the ETF Bitcoin hangover right now, but markets in a few specific pockets have been really cooking. We've been having fun in the basement. I'm just glad to be here, man. Glad to be part of crypto. Had to buy a fridge yesterday,
How come?
and I had to buy it with AVAX. AVAX cannot cool my food, so turning that into a real world asset, right?
Let me ask you something that's interesting. How do you convert back to fiat?
Oh, straight on Coinbase. I just have a Coinbase card. If I want to spend a little bit, I just, I'm KYC. You know what I mean?
So explain that. Explain that. You have a Coinbase card. What is that?
Yeah, it's a Coinbase card.
Oh, okay. There is an echo here. 1 second. Let me see.
Oh no, the echo again. Sad. Check. 1, 2, 3. Let me know if
I'm gonna switch one thing here.
Two.
Check.
Dave Digital. What up, Dave Digital? My God.
Okay, I switched the input. Is there an echo now?
Yeah, let us know in the chat if there's an echo. Yeah, I mean the Coinbase card. It's it's basically just a card I can spend crypto directly off of. It converts it to USD, and it's its own separate thing. It's not sending the value to my bank. It's basically just sending it straight off of Coinbase. So I like it because it gives me like I think it's like 5% or something back in Bitcoin on purchases.
Okay, hold on a second. I was in panic mode looking at waiting for the confirmation of no echo. So is this a credit card that you put fiat from Coinbase onto and it kind of loads it and then it's just like a credit card?
I mean, it's just a credit card that's backed by whatever asset I choose. So what I did, like for instance, I chose AVAX to back the credit card, and then essentially just it immediately transfers it within Coinbase to USD, and then goes and pays the whatever I'm purchasing. So it's not really it doesn't go through my bank. It just gets transferred into USD and then sent from Coinbase to the retailer. So I like it because I get 5% or something back in Bitcoin. I don't diamond hand things to the point where I'm like destitute in real life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I've had to do a couple big moves over this, bear market, accumulation market, whatever you want to call it. I had to build an outbuilding for my wife to be able to sew in because if mama's not happy, no one's happy. So I got that going and got that finished. I'm redoing my daughter's bedroom. I had to get a new vehicle. Like there's all kinds of stuff that come up day to day. I'm a dad with 4 kids and a beautiful wife, and I just, there's my chain link bag, which I'm not selling hell or high water until the middle of 2025 is what I'm targeting for my chain link. But these other types of things, like I hammered into Avalanche at $10, and so when it hit these levels, it's like fine, I'll shave a little milk off the top, and really. Everything that's left in my AVAX and ICP bags that I built at good low levels, like ICP at 3, it's all house money at this point. So, you know what I mean? I've already taken my original investment out. I'm not married to crypto projects or anything like that. And and it looks like 0.5. I guess I spend a lot because I'm getting quite a bit of rewards back.
It's like 5% back. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's I think C-Rab, I think he's correct because I wasn't exactly sure. It's like probably 0.5. I don't know. It gives me a certain amount back for Bitcoin. And then with the money that I get back in that's basically just set aside for my kids to have Bitcoin for the long term. You know what I mean? Bitcoin is the only thing within the crypto sphere that I feel at this point can be transferred over to my kids. I'm hopeful for Chainlink or Ethereum to make it 20, 30 years from now, but not sure about it. And I'm not going to sit there and put something into an account for my kids to, to access if I'm not sure that the project's going to exist by the time that they need it. So that's kind of how I handle it. You know what I mean? It's just a little bit of extra, and yeah, I mean, I have some concerns with the bank that I have. Bank First Bank. Uh, this is a regional bank, and there are many mid-sized regional banks that I am extremely concerned about right now. So on top of finding my own ways of outpacing inflation through crypto, there's also the compounding factor of my macroeconomic concerns for banks, and it's all stemming from this band-aid over a bullet wound that the Federal Reserve put in place on March 10th of 2023. It's called the Bank Term Funding Program. It's an emergency lending program that the banking system at large has been relying on to stay solvent because interest rates have jackknifed, along with ESG investments they made are deep in the red, compounded with commercial real estate absolutely getting shellacked, right? So there's a few compounding factors playing into the reason for this bank term funding program to be needed. And what was kind of funny is that the Federal Reserve found out that these banks were arbitraging that low emergency rate when they didn't need it. So the banks were cut off from this emergency program, I think about 2 weeks ago. And the hard date for the end to this program, and in my opinion, the return of good old fashioned quantitative easing and printing, comes on March 11th of this year. And that's one of the most exciting data points for me on when I'm looking at charts or crypto. March 10th, Bitcoin was crashing hard down to $20,100. And there's a lot of calls, a lot of worries for that 10K hit, right? And Bitcoin acted in the exact opposite direction. Um, so, thinking about that, with what we've seen over the past week, we also had Evergrande, right? Evergrande and the BTFP concerns coming up now again in the same time frame. At the same time, I do see the money supply having to jackknife up to save these hawks, and as a result, risk assets are going to have a little bit of a party from it. So I know it's kind of the doldrums of the ETF didn't send us to the moon already, but there are a lot of other macroeconomic indicators that I'm using, and I listen to experts like you, like CryptoFace, for kind of money flow or, your Fibonacci's, you know what I mean? All that stuff. I like to have a confluence of opinions um, to try to figure out where I'm going with the market. And yeah, I think that coming up in March, on March 11th, things are going to get real funky. I wouldn't be surprised if the banks just redid the bank term funding program, but maybe with tighter parameters so that these banks that were solvent don't take advantage of it and arbitrage it and kind of ruin the saving grace for the rest of the banks that actually need it. So
Do you think that's it's baked in that these banks go down? Like it's just part of the plan has already been released, and then they're like March 11th we'll let this go, and that these banks will be done, and no one's getting their money except for the
it kind of feels that
security
way.
entitlement.
It kind of feels that way. It feels like because the bank that is at the top of the FHLB rating, basically they owe more than they're worth, is Charles Schwab. And Charles Schwab is right there where Signature and Silicon Valley Bank were rated right before they went under. And Charles Schwab is just chilling, right? And along with Citibank. So Citibank and Charles Schwab, very underwater from commercial real estate investments and things of that nature. And they don't seem to be affected at all. And every time, like, last year we just see these. A good instance or example is UBS absorbing, was it Deutsche or Credit Suisse at a request of the Swiss government. We're going to see pretty similar situation playing out with like JP Morgan, Bank of America absorbing these dead body carcass banks, basically just consolidating more and more power and controlling the flow of money even better. What do banks love more than controlling the flow of money, right? So I think that in the long term, after this shakes out, we'll see a couple other banks go under. probably let a few go under before they do redo the bank term funding program. And or see, and this is where they've made it so convoluted that it's hard to really express how far down the Ponzi this system is, right? Because they have just traditional printing and quantitative easing. Then they have treasury repos where they're buying junk treasuries back and offering a higher yield to massive, massive buyers, governments, and huge institutional buyers. And then now we have this third mechanism, the BTFP. It's going to be one of the three. You know, I don't necessarily think they can do all three at the same time. It kind of goes in waves where Janet Yellen will pop her head up and do the emergency repo side, and then things will settle down a little bit, and then Jerome Powell will pop his head up and do some quantitative easing, and then the banking institutions are allowed to use BTFP in the recent years. It was kind of shocking to me to see it rolled out because it is meant for absolute emergency situations. And, you know, they've been just basically relying on it to keep the lights open. So the overscope's concerning. I do see this consolidation with banks happening more and more and more. And, you know, I'm not planning on shutting up about being adamant about my freedoms here in the United States. Sure, they could build their algorithmic robots out as much as they want, but it doesn't, you know, tangibly stop me from doing a damn thing. So I'm going to keep being me. Probably get yelled at by a bank or two, the same way that PayPal set it up to go after misinformation. But it's just the way it is. You can't get, you know, if you ain't in the penalty box once or twice, you're not playing hard enough. You know what I mean?
That's right. I remember right before, I mean, I think the last time we were on together, I sent you a link to The Great Taking. And it was a book that had just come out about how this all unfolds and how it's been planned. And I've been going over it kind of ad nauseum the past week or so. I did an audiobook of it because I feel like it's such an important aspect to why everyone needs Bitcoin and how this thing has been planned for so long. And I think a lot of people, you know, still kind of think that everything's coincidence and, you know, this domino hits that domino. But when you go over the meat and potatoes of The Great Taking,
right?
It's so scary that it's the second scariest book I ever read. The first being The Creature from Jekyll Island, but this one is so scary. And if it plays out the way it's going to play out, man, it's going to be a weird world because everyone's going to lose everything. So, in a nutshell, what it means is that like nobody owns anything already. So the Great Taking has already taken place, and all assets have been placed in the DTCC. So the illusion of ownership has already taken place. And where I get this information from, besides the book, is another YouTube channel called Parallel System. His name's Parallel Mike. So I suggest everyone check out his channel. He's got unbelievable knowledge on weird shit that the way he puts it, it's a little dry, but it's amazing. So if you have a second, go check out Parallel Mike. And I think his video, I put a link in it in the description. It's the one on South Dakota. So did you hear about South Dakota? What happened?
No, let me know. I got a ton of family out there. Fargo is actually where a ton of my family is. What's going on?
Well, I didn't know this, but South Dakota is like a tax haven within the states. And there's a lot of old money there and even foreign money. So people in China and people in Europe have set up trusts in South Dakota. So what's happened is that they've caught wind of the Great Taking, and they've been pressured, and they're like, "Is this real? Do we have no assets?" And then their lawyers do their due diligence and come back and say, "Yeah, this is true. You have no assets. All this thing in this trust can be taken by the too big to fail banks when the shit goes down." Right. So they're pushing back. The politicians in South Dakota are but they're being pushed by the billionaires to change the rules. So when the collapse happens, they become secured creditors, and it doesn't go to the JP Morgans and the Chases and everything. So it's crazy shit going on in South Dakota. Most people have no idea. Like myself, I had no idea either.
That's like the bank bail-ins with a bunch of extra steps is what it sounds like. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
Yeah, because like I try to cover Cyprus all the time, and it's the bank bail-ins that happened in Cyprus, super scary situation. And last March, when I did see things kind of falling apart for Silicon Valley, for a couple other larger banks, I was warning about that Dodd-Frank Act that the U.S. put into place in the housing crisis, where basically just allowed the banks to just go into your account and take your money out of your account to fix the problems that they created for themselves and leave you to do whatever, you know what I mean, to flounder penniless. We do still have that in place. Now we have compounding emergency situations being laid out by elected leaders. I mean, it is getting funky. That is why I am very heavy about prepping and stacking land on top of this. Like the technology and everything that Bitcoin is amazing, and all of that, I cannot deny that. I love it. I scream it from the rooftops how awesome it is, and the chance it's given us to recapture transparency from our governments, because it used to be that we knew everything about our government and they knew nothing about us. That's how it should be. That is exactly opposite of the situation we have right now. So it is a highly aggravating situation to see that kind of flipped, and the bail-ins are still available to do for banks. So, that's another reason why I like to utilize that Coinbase card. And it's almost like having a few different spots where my money is. I think that Coinbase is going to be a long-standing, very strong crypto exchange. I don't think that it's at risk or anything like that. So, and I'm American-based. I kind of got to play where it's available right now until Congress takes control of the regulation for crypto. I am a little bit aggravated that Tom Emmer and Warren Davidson have kind of quieted down on those calls for reform from the SEC. You know what I mean? It's basically, I hate when I see a politician just pop their head out and be like a fair weather fan, right? They see the attentions there. They go there and be like, hey, I'll stand up for you. And then where are you at? Right? Like, now we got Binance and the DoD in contention, Binance delisting Monero, all these different things happening, and it's like, where is Congress in protecting these companies? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty aggravating situation. They try to. It's funny when the United States regulators, they'll go after Tornado Cash developers across the world, right? But then if it's vice versa, and then they have a company like Monero being taken off Binance, there's no one standing up for Monero, for
No.
Binance. It's all just this built on arbitrage and harder moves against our opportunity to take advantage of this disruptive technology. It's one of the few avenues, along with AI investments, biotech, those types of things are going to outpace a lot of stocks that we're used to seeing really hoist up the markets over the next 10, 20 years. And crypto is a major part of that. So being blocked out of the ability to outpace inflation and to feed my family better, um, is a highly aggravating situation. And at a point, there does become the argument that it is a deadly threat to lock your people into a dying fiat currency, and thus comes the two-way. So, it's there. I say it. We're probably airing in Trudeau's land, so he's
I
probably
doubt
not
it.
thrilled about me. You don't think so? Okay, good.
Well, I believe that we have a bill C-16 or something, so
Yeah,
they get to regulate the internet, so to speak. I know Sneaky Pete Vaporizers is from BC, and BC Elf. So there are a couple.
yeah. Okay, so they're probably just blocking you in your homeland.
Probably,
That's
yeah. Well, I do a
that's
lot of
insane.
anti-Trudeau stuff too, like in my
Yeah.
videos. I don't know if it gets picked up, but
Well, how dare you, question authoritarian dictatorships?
I
I'm
know.
just, how dare us question and discuss what's actually going on at the highest levels of government, things that affect our lives and people's lives all around us, the insanity of being quieted by the overscope of being banned. It's
Yeah,
come back. It doesn't even seem like it's slowed down since COVID. It's become more veiled and more widespread. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's a it, it's a beast that continues to grow. I do see more and more people that are freedom minded that are realizing they're being arbitraged and fighting back. I even saw a lot of legal arguments be made here in the United States about the legitimacy of even paying taxes at this point. So Because if we have things going on where they're cooking in the requirements to send money across the world to continue a war that we have no place in being in, they're making that part of the bill a requirement to pass a border securing legislation, right? So we can't secure our own borders if we don't also secure Ukraine's, is the platform that we're being set up on right now.
Crazy.
And that's insane. That's insane. That's illegal. It's also, it's illegal to store and to go over American facial recognition data. And here we are. They're trying to use the scariness of whatever T words you want to use. I don't know if we'll get banned if we say this, but all the insurgents they talk about, they want to turn on these facial recognition systems. And guess what? It's the same time that the convoy is heading down to the border, right?
Yeah.
So interesting time frame. And then you remember J6 was right in the same time frame as Afghanistan, right? And they use that. Oh, we gotta turn the button on. We gotta turn this facial recognition data housing system on right at the same time, same week that a trucking convoy of Canadian patriots
Just
at the time
coincidence.
now. Right, just a coincidence, right? No big deal. It's illegal, and so now the very the very groundwork that this entire system sits upon and how it decides. Like, I don't feel represented at this point. There's many people that don't feel represented. So, at what point is that breaking point? That's basically where we're at right now.
Yeah. Do you find, especially in kind of our crypto bubble, that as powerful as you think this movement's getting, is it really just a fringe movement? You know what I mean? Like when you poke
Oh
your
man,
head out of the bubble and you're like, oh, wait a
right?
second, everyone is still wearing masks and believing the rhetoric.
Yeah. I guess in my area that I live in, not necessarily, but if I were to go to, say, San Francisco or even center Atlanta, the mood and the operation that people, are operating on is very beat down. It is very succumbed to those narratives. So it does feel like we're in a bubble. That's why it's so damn important that everyone that has the wherewithal to see what's coming to spread this message. I mean, pianomattyb, myself, we're out here every single day. We wake up, do some push-ups, punch a bag, and get ready to fight the tyrants again. And no one's rubbing our back in the morning to do it. No one's saying it's okay. Do I think it's going to be okay? No. I would rather die on my feet as a man than to bow down to a tyrant. And so that is the modus operandi. And you know, to see people be asleep to that, or to just be like, oh, whatever, I'll just, I'll hear it and I won't spread the message. I mean, we're doing a disservice to the person standing next to us 5 years from now. If this plan and this you will own nothing and be happy does occur at 2030, it's our fault. It's all our fault. It's
Yeah.
on our shoulders, So I know it can feel, but there's a lot of power to us. It doesn't take the whole country moving against the narrative. It takes focused individuals. It takes focused individuals. That's what it takes. It doesn't take 50% of the population. The 3%. Look it up, 3% America. You'll see that you don't need a large amount of people to be physically focused on changing what's going on. You know what I mean? You only need a few focused men. That's what you need. So, words can do all they can, and I hope that we get more time for conversation that's useful, but I feel that time is running short over, once we go to, I think 2026 honestly is going to be hell. I think 2026 is going to be a big problem. You know, with people's ability to buy houses right now. So I think about primarily like how people are doing. I'm thinking about mortgage rates. I'm thinking about the price of house and what their intake is to see if they can actually live their lives comfortably. I think 2026 is going to be a dumpster fire. What we're going to have, in my opinion, is the Federal Reserve coming down on rates 3 to 4% over the next 1 or 2 years. But then once 2026 hits, China, Federal Reserve will jackknife interest rates back up. And the reason why I feel this is because I'm tracking it, and along with inflation, is tracking very similarly to what it did from the 70s to 80s crisis. And the Fed is using the same playbook. And I just see it on a macro sense playing out in that same regard. So it's like the time is now. Like we have to be getting into projects, locking up good positions, and buying houses with that in this next bull run. That's like the main focus. Like, who needs a Lamborghini? Nobody needs a Lamborghini. Nobody needs a Ferrari. Nobody needs any of this useless bullshit. Put your money into land, and don't. Who wants to be the flashy guy that's the good target to hit when things do get bad, right? Is that smart? How about just walk quietly with a big stick? Andre, no, you're not being blocked, brother. I didn't see the other one though. But yeah, man, like the time frame that we're in right now is just insanely important in my mind because we are running out of time to lock up land and get some land that has. It's hard. All right, so now we're getting into my prepper mind, but I mean, get a long driveway, get some deep woods, do some training. Follow a couple Warrior Poet Society. All kinds of different trading availabilities. Because guess what? The training to how to secure your own land and how to protect your own family, that's being put into question as far as potentially being a illegal action in the U.S. They're trying to put that forward, where certified trainers and military operators cannot transmit their knowledge
That's
to the
insane.
civilization, the civilian population, and that is the insanity. That is the pure insanity. That's how they're trying to lay the groundwork to do something very nefarious. I think they're going to fail. Yes, I think it only takes a small contingent of society to wake up and to be able-bodied and ready to reclaim that sovereignty. But it's not going to be easy. You know what I mean? And we need more help. We need all the help we can get to get this message out because people need to know what is coming.
Yeah, when you talk about the the upside of Bitcoin, when you said Lamborghini, it reminded me. I wrote the song called "The Loneliest Lamborghini in the World," right? And it's not about Lamborghini. Yeah. It's about when the shit hits the fan and the upside of Bitcoin goes to all these fantastic prices. It really is close to Armageddon, right? So the people that have have protected themselves will all be driving the loneliest Lamborghini in the world, and there's really. Is it that great? You did protect yourself. Is there anything to buy? Are bullets better than Bitcoin at that point? Like when we're talking about the $10 million Bitcoin, $10 million is probably like $100.
Like what's my
fiat.
Coinbase card going to do if the bubble pops, right? It's not. And so I have to have a healthy balance of what tangible goods I have and how much I'm putting into crypto, right? And that is hyper important. Generators, you know what I mean? Lead, lots of lead, and different iron goods that can send the lead different directions. Important stuff to be stacking right now while we still have the rights to do so. Oh, what's up? We got the little man in there. What's up, buddy? Very, very important to have. There's Taco. Wrong way. Walking around, being cray-cray. It's about to do a market update. But yeah, man, stacking these things extremely important right now. But also the trading. And you don't want that lonely Lambo. You don't want to be, parked on the side of the road in your beautiful car and then the bubble pops and you're the number one target in the area. Same thing with wearing flashy clothes. Same thing with, if I walked around with a tack suit on, they'd be like, okay, if I could get that guy's stuff, I'd be in, right? Walk quietly with a smile on your face and a big stick and one in the pipe. That's how I try to operate. You know what I mean? It's just the safest bet.
With the when you're talking about the complacency of the general masses, if you're familiar with the Hegelian dialectic, it's part of their game is to offer something so bizarre and painful that there is pushback. But by the time the pushback tires out, it actually just comes back to what they wanted in the first place. So if they want if they want a little bit of censorship, they go for a ton of censorship, and then the pushback comes back, and everyone's like, "Well, we're okay with Bill C-16 or whatever in Canada. Oh, we're okay with the Army not giving away their training profiles." But and that's just how it happens. So if you're familiar with that, everything is so it's so programmable. Like everything that's
Yeah.
happening is like, well, this is going to happen, right? So every time there's this massive bill that comes out, uh, some senators like, we're going to take crypto down to that. They come out punching, and then it comes back to
Hmm.
about 60%. And everyone's like, okay, I can deal with that.
Right. Absolutely. They overshoot and then they walk it back down and find some
Yeah.
sort of middle ground or anything like that. Honestly, we're at the point we've already given up enough of our rights, way too many of our rights. And that day happened on 2000 in 2001. The Patriot Act took all of the rights of Americans away. And that problem obviously bleeds into Canada, our main ally. Um, the Patriot Act's still in place. They've been operating on this emergency, system for this whole time, and they just keep compounding it, keep adding emergencies to it, right? They tried to roll out Disease X, kind of failed. People are a little bit over it. I feel like the failure of Disease X shows me a little bit more hope for people like you and me that our message is starting to get out there. People are questioning they're thinking for themselves. Don't make it so easy for them. You know what I mean? Question it, speak about it. It's a situation we have to face, man. If we don't pay attention to this now, we are going to have to apologize to our children through bars, 50 years from now, if we, try to stand up for ourselves and freedom.
Yeah, although Disease X could be their karmic signal. They like to say what's going to happen, so
Yeah,
they're rid of the karmic downturn. It's like, well, Disease X is here, it's going to coming, and then it disappears, and then it comes back as something else. And they're like, well, we told you it's coming.
yeah, yeah. Um, there is, the I have some pretty deep, scary concerns about the I don't even want to say it, but the jabs might have laid
Hmm.
a heavy highway for the next product to really take out receivers. So
Did you hear about
um,
this one? Save that for a second because I want to hear it.
yeah,
The fact that what China rolled up their arms for and what the Western world rolled up their arms for were completely different. There wasn't
absolutely.
mRNA in China, and
Yes,
so
absolutely.
one of the dark theories is that when, let's just call it, Disease X comes through, one half that took this
Right,
is safe. The other half that took
right.
this is not safe. It's scary and dark. It's like,
That's
is it
Klaus
possible?
Schwab's wet dream, a
Right.
focused bioweapon that takes out specific groups of people. It's a
Now, what was your
very,
dark
very
theory?
dark, very dark theory. But honestly, it's in the back of my head all the time. Um, and I do worry that whatever next product, whatever next hotness gets leaked out of the Wuhan 2024 could potentially have an open heavy highway to really do some heavy damage. And with all the arbitrages they've done, there'd be a lot of people who'd be like, "F you, you got me last time. I'm not doing this next one," and it could get ugly quick. So. And then that's where like the hope of decentralized science comes into play. But then we see the most nefarious player in the last 3 years being at the top and the leading edge for decentralized science, right? They just infiltrate everything at every
Who's that?
single level. It starts with a P, ends with an R.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. I thought it
Yeah.
was more of an indie.
So yeah, it's pretty disappointing, honestly. Like when I first saw DSci, I was like, man, this is a great way for scientists to have an open source. They can put their research out there, they can have their voice heard. I was very bullish on the idea because you remember Robert Malone, the godfather of RMNA or whatever the hell you want to call it, was black. He was blacklisted. They burned his books digitally when he was speaking out against the dangers of the jab when it originally rolled out. He helped develop the whole thing many, many years ago. And to see Robert Malone taken out, I was like, my God, we need a decentralized science process now, too. And of course, you have the big boy come right in and be at the forefront of the top project at DSci. I don't want to flood them too bad. Go look at it for your own self. Go research DSci, and you'll see some of the backers on it, and it's just the same old game. They're trying to swooze us over with all these big fancy words, and it's a game of arbitrage, a game of mirrors, and it pisses me off that my hillbilly mind can understand it, but the regular guy that's across the street that's just living his life doesn't see these things coming.
Well, the reason for that, I think, is that if you have been a business owner or you've worked for yourself or an entrepreneur or a harebrained schemer, you will naturally have an aversion to what any authority tells you, right? Because you've been
Yeah,
doing it on your own for so long that you question everything because this is the nature of being in business for yourself. So the people
right.
with jobs, I mean, I don't blame them because I have a lot of family who are basically government workers. They're teachers, and whatever comes down Monday morning with the memo, this is what we're doing. Everyone's just like, okay. They don't even question it. They may poo poo it a bit in the staff room, but
Yeah,
once lunch is over, they just go back and they fulfill the mandate because they're
yeah.
dependent on their paycheck, which is I get it.
Do you though? Is that right? Just
Yeah,
for a
because the
paycheck?
paycheck
Like,
is attached to the house, which is attached to the life,
I
which is
know.
attached to the
I
kids
gave up
in
all of that
camps.
though, man. Like I went through the pain of throwing away a 200K a year job over it. I went through the pain of having to work three jobs at a time to hold on to it, and I made it through, and it made me stronger. I don't think that that's the excuse, and I don't, think that a cop that just needs his paycheck. That's why I'm doing this, ma'am, for whatever. If they're arresting a kid in Burger King for not having his paperwork, I don't think that's okay, and I
It
think that
isn't
that's
no.
weakness. I think that that's weakness, and maybe I'm just a jerk. Maybe I'm a little bit hard sided, but you know, um, yeah, I don't think that that's
Well, that
that's an
mentality is
excuse at
just a
all.
paycheck away, right? So they may believe
Right.
or toe the line, but as soon as that paycheck's gone, they revert right back to their common sense.
Right, right. Yeah, man. And like in essence, I know this is a heavy subject, but it's like it's coming. We have to stack crypto now and get into land right afterwards. Like the time frame is short. We have the halving is like April 20th. Time is flying, and like I just feel this huge internal clock. Like my God, it's coming quick, and I better get my poop in a group now. Um, you know, Obviously I felt that for years, but the crypto side, the time frame that we're coming on, I do think that this is going to be a pretty damn awesome bull market for sure. But then what I think will follow will be heavy inflation. So we got to kill our debts, kill that mortgage, kill those things, get rid of those gigantic overhead costs. We think that they're okay right now just because we're making it by, we're paying the credit card payment, even though it's, 5% of it actually goes to the, what's due. I think that, focusing over the next year and a half in crypto and making sure that you have targets in mind for what needs to be taken care of, that'll help you pull the trigger when it comes to taking profits, right? Because it's always so hard to take profits once we see the markets really moving and really starting to move. You're like, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to go to 1 million, like they said. Oh my gosh. And you'll feel like the biggest idiot in the world when you are selling, but it's all about, every day you got to practice. And what is that goal? What kind of vehicle do I need to fit all my kids in? Or how big of a house do I need for the kids? All those things need to be in mind so that it helps you physically take action when you see those numbers come across your portfolio. Turn it into, instead of, those numbers across our screen, they look beautiful, they look maybe the best, but taking those and moving them into houses, vehicles, that is where it's at, man. We're here to change our lives. And it's all a heavy, I guess why I reiterated that, I'm trying to build people's mindsets up to not ride the market back down. There's going to be a lot of talk that the ETF is never going to let Bitcoin correct, right? And we're going to see hedge fund managers putting out that narrative on mainstream news because they're now in the market. They're not trying to fund it to zero. They're now in the market. So I think they're going to get wrecked when the market does crash back down hard. But, us here in crypto retail, we've been here for a while. We can actually beat that out. You've been in here long enough. If you're paying attention to crypto right now, you're honestly still in a really good time frame. After the halving, I do expect a little bit of a dip. I'm watching out for that. But in essence,
I think he muted himself.
did I
There you
just
are.
get kicked off?
You're back. No, you're back. Do you hear me? I
Maddie, are
see
you
you.
there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I just got kicked off. I got a friend that's driving a truck through town, and he's all hot and heavy to get a hold of me. So
Okay, well,
sorry
we're
about
still live, but well, thanks for the chat,
Yeah.
Drew. And we'll take it easy. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. See you tomorrow. Like and subscribe.